Welcome to episode 65 of Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. We're churning through the summer months. There's been a boatload of racing, and it only gets heavier both on the national and the local level. Now, if you missed our latest shows with NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycles Gage Herrera or 2013 World of Outlaws champion Darren Pittman, make sure to go and add those to your watch list. Now for today, we have AO Racing's Director of Motorsports, Gunnar Jeannette, joining us. No matter if you're new to IMSA racing or a diehard fan, you know the team's Porsche 911 GT3 RAR, better known as Rexy. Now Rexy was born last year at the 12 Hours of Sebring and has quickly become a fan favorite on the track. In fact, the team currently holds the GTD Pro points lead with drivers Seb Priaulx and Laurin Heinrich. Without further delay, let's get into the show. So go grab yourself a snack, maybe a chicken wing, dip it in mashed potatoes, or something, and enjoy this episode with Gunnar Jeannette. AO Racing debuted in IMSA last year. Now you're leading the GTD Pro standings. How did AO find that type of performance within a less than 2 year span?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a lot of those elements last year. We didn't really have any aspects of luck, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, we were super close to the podium in Le Mans with the RSR with Rexy over there. Unfortunately, had a technical issue sort of in the last couple hours of the race that took us out of contention for that. And then, I mean, obviously, the Porsche BOP last year sort of swung in sort of various directions, but we were always towards the front of the Porsche pack, and yeah, would have been on for that debut podium at Petite without the last lap or last sort of 5 minute kind of chaos that can ensue there. But yeah, I mean, really, moving into the GTD Pro category is obviously always going to be a big step. Seb continued with us from last year. He's doing a great job. And then to have another young talent like Laurin Heinrich is massive, and those guys are just gelling together. There's a lot to be said for chemistry in any driver lineup. And yeah, having Michael Christensen for the endurance races, like, I don't know what more you could ask for in a Porsche lineup. So yeah, we're super happy with that from a team perspective. Everybody's definitely stepped up their game. There's still areas that we can improve. And I don't want to say that we're surprised to be leading the championship at this point, but yeah, obviously we're very pleased. I think the next couple of races are going to be a little bit more challenging for the Porsche with what it does well versus our competitors. Obviously, we saw that at Watkins Glen. We just didn't have the pace for those guys. So yeah, we're gonna to do our damnedest to keep Rexy up there and hopefully have a good second half of the year.
You mentioned Seb Priaulx and Laurin Heinrich. What's kind of impressed you with those guys? You mentioned how they've gelled and everything, but what's kind of been, I guess, what you've noticed from your perspective that kind of helps them get the most out of each other and also out of Rexy?
Yeah, I mean, both of them have a decent background in Porsches. Laurin has spent more time in sort of Carrera Cup, Super Cup, but Seb is also the North American Carrera Cup champion, and has a good bit of time in the WEC and the RSR. Them being very close in age, I think they're only a couple of months apart. And definitely helps. So yeah, I mean, they get on really well together, and that really does say a lot again for the driver chemistry. They're both, wicked fast, so there's no sort of question in that. And they can sort of feed off of each other's performance with no ego in the equation, and that's always the challenging thing with sports car racing, is that it is very much a team sport, but you always want to be faster than your teammate in the same car. So to be comfortable in the scenario, both with your teammate, the team surrounding you, engineering staff, all of that, there's a lot to be said for being able to perform at your maximum when you're comfortable.
We kind of alluded to it with Rexy kind of being the star of the show per se from a fan's perspective, and obviously you guys introduced him and everything else back in Sebring last year. Just I mean, how did that idea come about? I'm sure you've been asked that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So our first race, our first professional race was the 24 Hours of Daytona in 2023. We have the 1983 Swap Shop winning 935. So there was that original throwback livery, which really looked great on the new GT3R. But at the end of that event, we were kind of sat around going, well, what are we going to do with livery now? And PJ's helmet has a T-Rex on one side and has a unicorn on the other side for his son and his daughter. And I think PJ jokingly said, like, we could make the car into a T-Rex. I was like, well, actually, we could make the car into a T-Rex. And yeah, with a lot of effort and a lot of revisions, we came out with Rexy and you know, you always kind of question how well something's going to go over, and as soon as we released the launch photos and you know, the internet kind of went crazy for it. And then obviously at Sebring, the fans there are have quite the character. So when they saw the car, and then also everything that we were doing with the characters themselves, interacting with the fans, all of that kind of stuff, and then, you know, continuing to grow on that with the merchandise, and then, you know, the little Rexy stuffed animal plushies and that kind of stuff. It's just really taken on sort of a life of its own. And we're just so happy to have an influence and connection with the fans, not just the diehard sports car racing fans, but the families. To see the families come up at the autograph session, you know, the kids having the plushies and interacting with, you know, the inflatable Rexy and Spike now, obviously Roxy as well. It's really cool to know that, you know, you're connecting with people, and, you know, bringing families together over something.
And you kind of mentioned with like the merchandise and everything else, social media. It's interesting because just from what I've seen, it's probably like the only IMSA team that I've seen that really kind of has created its own sort of what's the word, like kind of like symbol or just type of thing where you know who this team is, you know who the drivers are.
Yeah.
Just for you, like how excited is that just to see to be able to be part of the brainchild of something that's really taken off and has had such a positive impact on the sport and motorsports in general.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for that. It has been really neat because, you know, I grew up around sports car racing. I drove for 20 plus years, and sports car racing is pretty unique in other motorsports in that you're always going to have multiple drivers in the car. So, you know, when you have fans in Formula One or NASCAR or IndyCar, a lot of the time, like, sure, they will associate with the manufacturer or the team, but most of the time they're associating and connecting with an individual driver. And that, okay, yeah, is the case a little bit in sports car racing, but I feel like, you know, most of the time fans connect with either the brand or manufacturer or the team itself, less so the driver. And with us being a new team, you know, when you see Rexy or Spike or Roxy on the TV, you know, people can recognize that immediately and connect to it. They don't have to know that it's AO Racing or that it's Seb or Lauren or PJ or Paul Lou or myself driving the car. They just immediately know, boom, it's Rexy, boom, it's Spike. And I think that is I think that's, I don't know, maybe going to become a little bit more prevalent in sports car racing if other teams sort of start catching on. And that's the case, you know, certainly with some other teams like a FAF or that kind of thing, sort of what they did with the Plaid. But yeah, we're you know, extremely happy at the recognition that we can get.
And I know you drove the car full time last year, and now you've kind of stepped out of that role and more into like the team principal role. Just how does driving the race car and knowing the ins and outs on that side help you in your new role now?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a positive. Understanding what a driver wants sort of in all aspects, whether it's, car stuff, ergonomic driver change, engineering, interaction, like just all of those things. In the end, it's up to the driver, the engineers, and the crew to get the car in a window where we can really compete against the competitors. And, in BOP racing, that's still one of the areas that as a team, you can do a better job of other teams. So yeah, I've definitely tried to just set up the right environment to let everybody, sort of do their job to the best of their abilities and thrive. And the best thing for me is to like not have to get involved. Like I want to make sure that we have all of the best people that we can in their positions. And if they're all doing their job to the best of their abilities, then I shouldn't have to get hands-on. That's definitely not the case all of the time, but definitely what we strive for.
It's kind of nice to just be able to sit back and watch watch the beautiful race cars.
Yeah.
Final two questions. You mentioned Spike a little bit, the LMP2 car. Just with adding a different car, different division type of thing. Just what kind of challenges have those presented, and just from going from just the GTD to GTD Pro and LMP2.
Yeah, I mean it's a massive challenge. For us as still a first year team at the end of 2023 to make the decision like, okay, we're only really wrapping our arms around running a single Porsche in GTD. Like now let's bring on a whole nother entity. It is a two-car team, but it has to be run like two one-car teams because it's not like we're running two Porsches. We're running two completely different cars that require, I don't think there's maybe a single part on them that are the same other than the radio plug. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's been a massive challenge. The partners that we have sort of across the board, Multimatic being a partner sort of on both programs, bringing in TF Sport to help out with a lot of things on the IMSA program, and then obviously the WEC and our Le Mans effort has been a big help in the learning curve. And it's nice to finally see that learning curve coming to fruition when you're racing against teams like United and Era and Riley that have, a massive background of running prototypes, but also this individual car. So when you come into running a prototype, with all of its nuances and setup options and all that kind of stuff to get to a place where we're giving PJ a car that he can put on pole, at Sebring in his second race, and then at Watkins Glen, again finish on the podium at Le Mans, that kind of stuff. It's very rewarding because it's been a massive amount of work.
And final question, you kind of mentioned with Le Mans and getting on the podium for that in LMP2, you've won two races in GTD Pro, and then was it a couple, or probably 2 weeks ago or something, you won the 4 hours of Imola and everything. Just as someone who's been with this operation since its beginning, how exciting is that for you to be able to see that growth and to see it just be where it's at now?
Yeah, it's hugely exciting. I mean, we're sort of in the middle part of the year, and with our sort of where we are in the point standings, particularly on the GTD Pro side. I mean, I'm definitely not relaxing and enjoying much of the fruits of the labor because we've got a massive push to keep ourselves on top. And on the P2 side of things, I mean, we're still pushing for that first IMSA podium, and at Mossport this weekend we have the chance for an overall win. So that would be a huge bonus for the organization. It is extremely gratifying to see, again, the hard work that has been successful. But at the same time, we're definitely not resting.
You certainly can. And well, I appreciate you taking the time, Gunnar. It's been fantastic to talk with you, and excited to see see the race cars on track, and hopefully you guys continue to have success.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our interview with Gunnar Jeannette. First off, Rexy is just one of those race cars you can never have enough photos of when you see it in person at the racetrack. Just such a cool idea that came to life. Man, we just need a diecast over here. And secondly, it's just insane to see how much AO Racing has grown in such a short amount of time. The team is simply firing on all cylinders, and to have wins at some of IMSA's toughest racetracks like a Laguna Seca and the streets of Detroit, it just shows that growth and high level preparation that the team's doing right now. Now, you'll want to keep up with the championship battle in every category of IMSA down the stretch here. Between GTP, LMP2, and both GTD divisions, the points only get tighter. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. There's plenty more content along the way here in the coming weeks. From dirt to NASCAR, IndyCar, you name it, we got it. And make sure to follow us on X and Instagram @BehindCatch as well. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your day. Go watch some racing, and I'll catch you guys later.